Welcome to the Elevated Chat Room. It's Dwayne Malone right here to my left. We have your host, Mr. Lonzo Jones. Before we get started, we want to make sure that you like, subscribe, and if you hear something that you like, go ahead and comment about it. Lonzo, let's kick it off.
Welcome. Like my guy said, this is the Elevated Chat Room.
Let's go.
Elevate your mind, elevate your life. We got a special guest with us tonight. Man, we like bringing people in, man, because it gives us an opportunity to sit back and interview and dig deep in the mind of someone else. So we got Mr. Steventhen Holland with us tonight.
Let's go.
The topic for tonight is finding family. He's going to share his story. Now, this guy right here, he's a national speaker, amongst other things. But I'm going to let Mr. Holland introduce himself. Go ahead.
What's up, Zoe?
What's up, man?
How you guys doing?
We're good, man. We're glad to have you. How you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Also, Dwayne. What's up, Dwayne?
What's going on? Yes.
Tell them about yourself, man. Introduce yourself to the audience, man.
Yeah, I've been doing good, by the way. Just really enjoying spending time with my wife and my kids. I got 3 daughters and a wife. We just celebrated 18 years of marriage.
Oh, that's what's up,
going
man.
strong.
Congratulations.
That's these days. That's something to celebrate.
It is. It really is.
But yeah, I spent the last since January, man. I had 29 national speaking engagements, about 19 states.
Wow.
So I've been running, really running on fumes at the end, to be honest with you. So this downtime's been really nice, but I speak nationally for a lot of my platform is in the pro-life world.
Okay.
Speaking for foster care, adoption agencies, doing a lot of fundraisers like keynoting for those, but then really a lot of pregnancy centers. So like here in our area, we have Shoal Save a Life, which is a local pregnancy center. So they do free resources, support moms, dads, just love on them, really. So I get to incorporate my personal testimony, which I know we may hit a little bit tonight.
Yeah.
But I get to share my story and raise money, man, for organizations I believe in. So it's really just walking in my purpose, I really feel like,
That's awesome, man. So you said because I had just put a note down. I was like, what are you speaking about? And then you said you do a lot of pro-life.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Yeah, no, just a lot of pro-life things. With that is mostly, when I say that, is I believe all life has purpose.
Okay.
So it's from the womb to the tomb. So it's not just, people think, pregnancy centers or right to life events like marches and stuff like that. It's really supporting those organizations that support people, in that. And it can be literally, really anything that supports life.
So how did you actually get into speaking? I mean, you say you're a national speaker. So how did you actually get into speaking? Like, was it just something that fell in your lap? Was it a desire that you had? How did that play out?
I don't think I had a desire to, I wasn't seeking we talked about I wasn't trying to elevate my status or trying to get on these stages. It wasn't a selfish ambition, I don't think, at all. My degree is in youth ministry. So I'm licensed and ordained minister.
Okay.
So I was a youth pastor for 13 years on staff at a few different churches in 3 states. The last one I was on staff at was in 2013 down in Tampa, Florida. And so I've been speaking, to students.
Gotcha.
And also occasionally, preaching sermons at big church. So I've been speaking for a while. I mean, that's really, I would say that's my, my job is to speak, but also worship leader. So singer, songwriter, I do music as well. And that's something that all that was built in the church.
Gotcha.
Right. So me speaking nationally, what was crazy, I wrote a book in 2015. It came out. I actually wrote it here in the Shoals and released it. And it was my story. And I started getting opportunities to speak. And so the first year I had 35 events. The next year I had 57, then 75. And I think Dwayne, we were hanging out back in the day and talking about, man, I wonder if God give me a platform just to share this story. I knew I had this story to share, but I didn't know, outside of church, like where to share.
Yeah.
And as I just was faithful to keep sharing, and I would go for free. It didn't matter about money. I just wanted to share my story. Honestly, God just opened a door. The largest Christian speaking agency in the country out of Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee area, they picked me up as a national pro-life speaker in 2018. So I had 4 events, then I had 7 events, then I had 15, then I had 27, then I had 39, then I had 49. And this year I have 52 national speaking engagements.
That's awesome. Man, that's that's what it's about. You know, when it's all said and done, is about sharing your story.
Yep.
Because a lot of people get confused thinking that you've always had it made or that life has always been good.
Right.
But they have no idea, you know, what happens behind closed doors, what happened behind the smiling faces.
Right.
You know, what happens. They see what they say. They see the glory, but they don't know the story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so
great.
that's powerful,
Good.
man. So keep sharing because I know it's changing people's lives.
So I'm telling you, man, I remember when Steventhen and I was standing in front of a storefront where we used to have the Recipe Project when we started. And I remember when he was sharing the vision and like getting ready to step out like into speaking on his own. This is before the national platform came, but just, man, his story is so inspiring. I'm telling you, like, it's crazy because he literally just stepped out on faith and to watch all of it unfold. I've always said he got a lifetime movie story.
He does.
You know, but man, just to see him step out on faith and to watch what it has became.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and just start, you know, diving into bits and pieces of your story. So what was it like to finally meet your birth family after being adopted? What was that experience like?
Yeah. Well, you know, I found out at 8 years old that I was adopted because somebody at school made fun of me because my skin color was different. So I found out that, hey, I'm brown, you know, and my whole family's not. They're all white, you know. So that's how I found out that I was adopted when I was 8. So, you know, just to get to that question, to answer it, you know, for me, I knew I was loved. I didn't question that, man. I mean, it didn't matter about the, you know, I always say love goes deeper than DNA, color, or blood.
Come on.
So I knew I was loved. So it didn't matter about, you know, but it was still hurtful. You know, I grew up feeling like I was different. You know, like dating for me was always hard, difficult because I grew up in a community where, you know, the brown kid was different enough that, you know, grandparents didn't agree. It was okay to sing in your churches and things like that, but I was too different for some things, right? Like we crossed the line. So, that's just part of my broken story. But so, you know, fast forward to 27 years old, my wife and I had gone through 2 miscarriages. We lost 2 babies at 8 weeks old and 10-week-old babies. And we had our daughter Isabella, who's 16 today, in between those 2 losses. And then we had Eliana and Cadence, who's 14 and 11, which I think I said Isabella is today, but her birthday is not today. But I'm just saying she's 16, 14, 11.
Yeah.
And so I, you know, going through all that, 27 years old, though, I actually got to meet my birth mom. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'd had all these really the question, all these why questions we have, like, you know, why am I the wrong color? That's what they said. Why am I different? Why? You know, but really, God, why would a mother not want her son? That's what really cut deep. And I carried that for a long time. So to answer that question, like what it felt like to meet my mom for the first time, I found out that she only functioned as an 11-year-old child. Mm-hmm. So when I met her, she was 46. So I got to meet my mom and I got to tell her I loved her and thank you for choosing life. I mean, she was being pressured I found out she's being pressured to abort me. I found out that, I don't know if we can say, I don't want to say the R word. I don't know our listeners, but she was taken advantage of by 5 men at 18 years old. And that's how I was conceived. Wow. So those questions of why did she not want me? All those things, she did want me. I mean, so much so that she carried me homeless, man, and fought for me. Wow. And she did the best she could to love me. And she didn't want to give me up. She tells me, we captured it on film, actually. It's on YouTube. You know, listeners can go watch or viewers can watch if you'd like. But, you know, I got some closure that I didn't even realize I needed, you know, as a 27-year-old man. Just to look her in the eyes. And all I wanted to do was tell her I love you, you know, and thank you for life. Yeah. But, you know, what I got was that I did want you and I did love you. And what she did was she sacrificed for me because everybody in her life was telling her to abort. You know, like the system, the mental facility she was in was not supporting her at all. She literally carried me homeless. And so I'm thankful for that, man. So, but then not only did I get to meet her, but how I found her was through my birth uncle, Steve Holt, and he's a magician and ventriloquist from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm just be honest on the show. Yeah. He's a weird cat. You know what I'm saying? I love him to death, man. But I don't like, some of y'all don't know me that well. I mean, you guys do, but you probably don't know this. I don't like clowns. I don't like Chucky. I don't like it. I don't like any of that mess. So when I'm on this man's website, that's how I found my mom, was through his website. Yeah. I mean, dude, he got videos of him cutting people in half. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like where the head's on one side.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not today. Not today, Satan. I'm not going on this man's website. But I got to meet this man that my birth uncle that I didn't know existed, man, and he's a believer. There were 6 of them. There were 6 siblings, or he had 5 siblings and himself, and all of them except for him, there were 5 that were mentally handicapped, like my mom.
Wow.
So he didn't have like normal family.
Right.
So when he met me, it was also like closure for him. Like I've got a family member that's normal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And loves Jesus.
Right.
And we've actually done ministry together,
Sweet.
So it's cool.
That's what's
It's
up,
really cool, man.
So I can only imagine what that would be like. The thoughts running through your head, like, hey, like you said, like, was I not wanted? Like, why did you give me up? And I think that's common. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's just human nature.
Right.
And then to finally get the answer, and it probably surprised you. I'm pretty sure you were shocked to find
Absolutely.
out, the mental issues that she had, and that just everything that came with that. So did that make you feel a certain way that your mom had a mental issue, or did that never really even cross your mind after you met her?
It made me honestly like just love and respect her more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a miracle,
right,
that I'm here.
Right.
Like it is, and I don't take that lightly. I don't take it for granted. Excuse me. Even more so now, that I get a chance to share our story. Also, so I had 11 years with my birth mom. Her grandkids, her granddaughters call her Gigi, Grandma Glenda. But on Thanksgiving of 2020, she passed away. She died. She choked on a sandwich, man. PB&J in the mental facility she was in. And it just, like, I was frustrated. You know what I'm saying? Guess what? Here it is again. Why?
Yeah.
Why did she have to go out like that? Bro, like, Lord, after all the stuff she's been through, you going to take her out with a PB&J? Like, really? But here's the beautiful thing, though. Like, man, I get to share my story, right? And it's not my story, it's our story.
Gotcha.
And I got a legacy to carry on.
Yes.
That even though she was only mental capacity of an 11-year-old child, she had dignity, man, and she deserved to be respected.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've gained really, I guess, even more of a passion for the mentally challenged, you know what I'm saying, and disabled, that she didn't get loved on. She didn't get cared for the way she deserved to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a broken system.
Yeah. So when you were, so was your name Steventhen at birth, or was that something that your name got changed to?
No, it was at birth.
Okay. And so tell us, like, because as far as I know, I've never met nobody or never even heard of the name Steventhen until I met you a few years back.
I'm the only
talk about that
in the world.
In the world
that we know of. If you Google it, I'm it, man. So like, I don't have to worry about SEO, any of that stuff with website stuff. Like, you search me, I'm it.
Yeah. So, you the number one ranking.
Now, there's a couple of posers that I think that's popped up, out there, but no, man, my hero that we just been talking about, my mom, Mama Glenda, she gave me that name in the hospital. And I think what we believe to be what happened was, so she's only 11-year-old capacity. So when she gave birth to me and they asked what she wants to name her son, I want to name him Stephen, then William. William's my middle name.
Okay.
So I found out that William was my grandfather, her dad, and Stephen was the gentleman, my uncle that I'm standing in his living room at 27 years old. So what we believe is she wanted me to have both names. But the way she spoke was Stephen, then William. In her mind, it's all one name.
Gotcha.
Wow. Steventhen William. So whoever recorded it that day in the hospital wrote Steven, didn't stop THEN, Stephen then, and then put William, my middle name. And then I came into the world as a Holt. But at age 2, I was officially adopted, name change. Now, what's crazy to me is kind of a God thing, I believe, is because, my family didn't know I'd be speaking nationally and sharing my story and, musician and all this stuff. But they kept the name on my birth certificate legally, even though everybody was like, you're not going to keep this kid's name Steventhen, right? You're going to, because I had brothers, Ricky, Rod, Renee, and Robin. then there's Steventhen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I tell people when I speak, like, you would think I never realized I was the wrong color.
Yeah.
But I never realized my name was weird either, you know, because I was called Steven, but there's Ricky, Rod, Renee, Robin.
Yeah.
And they were going to change my name, but they kept it to honor her.
That's good.
And they didn't even know the story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
That speaks volume on
Who adopted?
Yeah, on who adopted you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I would say. My family, that, you know, at 8 years old, when I found things out, they were very supportive. And, you know, they always said, look, you know, it wasn't, and if you don't know much about the adoption world, there's usually 3 options. It's open, semi-open, or closed.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was more, it wasn't necessarily open because we didn't have tons of information, but it was kind of semi. So it wasn't closed, and I could, you know, seek out if I had a desire to. My family was okay with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's what's up, man. So now that we know you've been adopted, how did you embrace the love of a new mother, and her brave choice, you know, just to give you an opportunity to live a better life, you know? So how did that transition go?
Honestly, I think it was pretty seamless. I mean, you know, and that's not everybody's story.
True.
You know, I realize that, but I'm 27, you know, married, 3 kids. You know, it was a little later in life. I think I had been open. Like, I actually asked permission, even at 27 years old, from my adopted family, because I wanted to honor them. You know, like, that's my mom and dad. You know, this is that's my family. They've raised me. So I asked them. I said, "Do I have your blessing?" I think, you know, I found my birth uncle.
Yeah.
I'm looking to go, you know, meet him, and I didn't know that she was alive actually until I go up there. I actually flew from Tampa, Florida to Spartanburg, South Carolina to meet him.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of our conversation, you know, after we spent 2 days together, then he's like, "Hey, by the way, your mom, my baby sister's alive. You want to meet her?" So I didn't even know I was going to get to meet her.
Wow.
But yeah, so I think, I'm thinking back. I mean, there definitely was probably a little bit of that. I want to honor, you know, just weird.
Yeah,
I don't know a better word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to honor my family, but also to honor my mom. But I think my family, again, a testament to my adopted family, they were just supportive, you know, and like, we want to meet her. We want to love on her. You know, like she's our family now, you know, not just yours.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let's switch that and talk about the aspect of the adopted mother's love.
Okay.
So how did you receive, like, you were 8 years old, being adopted. Now you got to go into a whole new environment, a whole new family. How was that love from that mother received? And did it give you a better chance at life? Was it a better situation? So tackle that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me, so I wasn't adopted at 8.
Okay.
I was actually brought into the family at 7 days.
Oh, so you've been with,
So you
lived with them.
Yeah.
Since 7, you was officially adopted later.
I was officially adopted at age 2. Now, let me tell you, I mean, I think a testament to them. So at 7 days old, I was placed in this family. I was on the same bottle of formula I left the hospital with. I was so weak, I couldn't even suck a bottle, man. And this family, again, didn't matter about blood, color, DNA. The moment I was placed into their home, like, they literally squeezed milk into my mouth to save my life. Like, I could not suck a bottle. That's how weak I was. So actually DHR told him that he needs a place to die, you know?
Wow. But
2 years prior to them bringing me into their home, they had actually lost a 22-week-old little boy to miscarriage. So I think, I know God prepared their hearts to get that call that, you know what I'm saying? They weren't going to let another baby die.
Right.
Like, they're going to fight for this baby. And they've been praying for a little baby boy that they had lost. So actually what they were doing, they had 4 biological children in the home, Ricky, Rod, Renee, and Robin. And they had a sibling set of 5 foster kids. So they were, God used that brokenness in their life, losing that baby, to start foster parenting. So they would have never brought me into the home
if they never lost it.
Right. So, you know, again, I believe God works, man.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, pain becomes purpose.
Come on.
Brokenness becomes beauty. And so for me, so at 6 months old, the state of Tennessee, I was raised in Chattanooga area, the state realized my skin color was different, that I was biracial. So the state came in and actually came into the home and sat down with my parents and said, "Hey, I think we need to remove him from this home and put him in a mixed race home or an African-American home." And my dad, he went to the back room and he grabbed a shotgun and he didn't say a word, sat it by the back door. And he said, I'm not saying this is the way you should handle it.
Right,
okay?
right,
But I'm just saying for him, he was like, you ain't taking my son.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that's the best way to handle it. But for a year and a half, a legal battle between the Hollands and the state of Tennessee, and I had 250 petition letters that I still have today.
Wow.
In a box of, and I'm just be real talk. This was in a racial, a racially divided area, and they still, despite all that, a lot of those people wrote letters into the Tennessee, the Department of Human Services and State Department to keep me in the home. And so really them coming together and fighting for me, I was able to stay in the home, and they were officially able to adopt me at age 2.
That's powerful.
So I say that to them, like my adopted family, man, they've just done nothing but fight. I think they saw life was worth fighting for, and I'm thankful for that.
Through all the different life experiences. And see, that's why it's so important when you do go through life, when you do have your setbacks, that you have the right mindset. Because we all know life gonna throw curveballs.
Yeah.
Right.
Life is a fight. We always say that. Life gonna throw punches at you. But it's all based off how you view that.
Right.
Are you gonna be woe is me, or I'm sad? I want people to have, empathy and sympathy and all this kind of stuff for me. But at the same time, am I growing? Am I learning? Am I preparing for what God has for me next?
Right.
Because a lot of people lose out on what's next because they still crying and stuck in what happened in the past. So the fact that your parents took that and was like, you know what? We know the hurt. We know the pain. Now let it push us to purpose.
Right.
And so not only did it bless their lives, but it blessed your life.
Right.
It affected more than just their own lives. It made your life what it is today. I mean, they had a hand in shaping that. So that's powerful, man. So, hey, that's beautiful though.
And it wasn't perfect.
Gotcha.
I mean,
nothing is though.
No, and it's not, but again, it wasn't perfect, but I think, the foundation is Christ.
Yeah.
I tell people I had a drug problem growing up. I was drug in and drug out of every church service known to man. You know what I'm saying? Kicking and screaming. My Mimi was my Sunday school teacher. You know what I'm saying? So, not a perfect family, not a perfect situation, but it was grounded, on the Lord and the Word. And I think that's what it always comes back to. He's the source of hope. So, yeah.
So, there's no situation that's perfect. Right. You know what I'm saying? When it's all said and done. Some situations are definitely better than others. Some homes are, filled with more love than other homes are. But the fact that they took you in and loved you.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, I was like, man, if somebody adopts you, that means they chose you. They handpicked you, through all the barriers, all the reasons why they shouldn't have. They did it anyway.
Right. So
that alone is something to hold on to. Like, man, they chose me. Like, I must be special. They saw something in me.
And at 27 years, or I'm 42 now, but at 42 years old, like looking back at that too, I cherish it even more. Again, that's when I say it wasn't perfect. My dad was a hard nosed man. I was a pretty good athlete. Stand out in football and baseball. I wrestled. Played a little basketball. But it was never good enough. You know what I'm saying? If I hit 3 home runs, you should have hit 4. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have had 15, you had 15, you should have had 20 tackles. You know? That's just the way I was. He was a tough man. Yeah. But it was tough love, but he never missed a game. He was always there. I needed a different kind of love, to be honest with you. Like, I'm more of affirmation and, that kind of love. But I just, again, like I actually lost my dad. He's the only earthly father I've ever known. He died of Alzheimer's in 2014. And there's a picture in my book on page 36 of this. I thought he was black most of my life growing up because he worked in the coal mines. So he'd come in and coal. And he'd have to use Gojo, man, and bathe in that stuff. But there's a picture of him holding his son. Again, the whole no color, no DNA, no blood, but I was his son, and I'm on his chest, and I'm face down. So my heart's touching his heart. But he passed away in 2014. He died not knowing who I was. You know what I'm saying? And I'm by his bedside, man, and I'm holding him, literally staying up all night listening to him take his last breaths. And it's been one of the hardest things I've had to do, man. To watch my dad die. but it's also been one of the most beautiful things I've been able to experience. You know, I got to hold him on his way out like he held me on my way in, and I wouldn't trade it, you know, for the world. I got to spend a year and 14 days caring for him. I actually moved from Tampa, Florida to come. That was my ministry. Like, I talked to my wife, we moved into the basement, we got to care for him. So I don't know if that answers your question about the adoption family, but you know, just as much as my mom will tell you, you know, sorry siblings, but mom tells me all the time, you know, you're my favorite. You know what I'm saying? Because I chose you, you know.
Yeah.
Not that, and I know what that means. She loves all of her children,
Yes.
but, you know, she's thankful that, you know, God put me in her home, you know, and I think it was a perfect fit. He knew exactly what he was doing, even though the circumstances in which I came into the world were crazy and terrible, you know, with what my mom had to go through, my birth mom, but God, you know, had a purpose and a plan.
Yeah. You going back to care for your dad, that shows like your honor and your love for him and your gratitude to him. Is like, you know what? This man took a chance on me, you know, and loved me through it all. And even though you said he was tough, but you knew it was rooted in love.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably the only way he knew how to show it. He didn't know how to be, you know, soft or what. No, I like, this is how it is.
He was raised by an alcoholic father.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He was beat on. And so, I mean, you know, he was better than that. But I, you know, later in life, I think my last, you know, like bow up moment, I was 22 years old and he laid me on my back. I'm like, okay, that old man's trying to not do that again. I'm not doing that again. Right.
I don't think I ever bowed up. Like just never, like times I wanted to, of course, but I never, like, I think the worst time ever, I just walked away. Yeah. But we never had those moments. I never felt like I needed to. Yeah. But it's funny that I hear stories like that, how, you know, you start smelling yourself, and then it's like, let me test them. And then next thing you know, you waking up, you got them little birds flying around, you know what I'm saying? Little stars and everything. But no, I never experienced that. So he put you on your back.
He did, man.
Yeah. So like you said, you didn't try no more, huh?
Exactly. No.
But that's pretty funny. But that love, man, like I challenge people, especially fathers. Yeah. It's like, man, if you as a dad would truly just love your kids the best way you know, and then also try to learn how to love them even at a deeper level, the way they want to be loved, and you'll create a bond that is more powerful than any bond there is on this earth.
Absolutely.
And I feel like your dad did a great job because you came back. Yeah. You got a lot of kids that, you know, when their dad, you know, was down and out, they don't want to fool with them. You know, and it speaks to the dynamics of the relationship. And so that's one thing that me and Dwayne talk about all the time. It's like, man, when I get older, I want my kids, like, forget about this. I'm still your father, but I want to have I want to be friends. Right. I want to be able to go to games together. I want to be able to experience joys. I still want you to be able to call me and get advice. I'm still going to be there to help you out. And when stuff goes left, I would like for them to be able to say, I love my dad enough. And our relationship is so tight. I am willing to come back to help, to take care of him, or just to visit him.
Well, a lot of other cultures, you know, America is probably the worst at it, to be honest. I mean, some people may argue, and that's okay. But, you know, a lot of countries, like I think of like Asia, for example, like Chinese culture, like grandparents stay in the home. You know, like families take care of family, you know. You know, a lot of people see it as a burden, but for me, like, honestly, truly, I was a minister. I had, you know, at a large church down there, I was leading 5 worship services a week. You know, I made it. You know, we had 2 cars paid off and a house, and, you know, we literally left everything and moved into my parents' basement, you know, with 3 kids, a 3-month-old. You know, my wife's a Florida girl. We got 1 window in the basement, you know, but she, you know, a testament to my wife is like, you know, no, if this is what God's calling you to do, we got to go. And I'm not, you know, I can't share all the stuff I did for him, you know, things I never thought I'd have to do to my adult dad. You know, I mean, I literally, you know, I took care of him. I nursed him. But it wasn't just to care for my dad, but it was my parent. I mean, like, I'm seeing my mom, you know, just because I was, you know, we're 600, 700 miles away. So I'm seeing it different than the rest of my family. So we're coming in for holidays and stuff. And I'm seeing my mom, man, she's like aged 10 years. You know, my dad's 230, she's 165, and she's carrying him, you know, from the bathtub to the bed, and I'm like, what they've done for me.
Yeah.
Like I owe them this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it was an honor.
See, I don't.
It was an honor.
I hate the way that inflation affects how our culture maneuvers.
Right.
Because if our money, our dollar was worth what it was truly worth, if we kept up with inflation, then you could have it to where you could bring your parents into your home and not, because you bring somebody into your home right now, you got to either be bringing in a whole lot of money or you got to have some type of policy in hand that's going to help take care of that, because you literally, you cannot afford it.
Right.
And the way it's set up, because we had to put my dad in a nursing home, right? And the way it's set up, whatever you own, you no longer own. You have to sell everything, get rid of everything,
like collateral.
Yes. And so it's like, but the only thing that would have possibly helped us is if he had like a long-term disability policy in place. So if you don't know these things, like going, because the baby boomers, they're in their 60s now. Right. They're retiring. Like every so amount of seconds they're retiring, and then as they retire, they start breaking down, whatever the case may be. So if you don't have something in place, your mom and your dad, they're gonna lose everything they worked their whole life for, and there's really nothing you can do about it unless you are proactive. Right. And so that's. But like I said, different cultures, different things, stuff work different ways. But I think that's one of the reasons why.
I'm not telling everybody on here you need to bring your parents.
Oh no.
But I think that just love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a burden for me. I think is what I'm trying to say. It was an honor. You said it earlier. It was an honor for me to go back and care for him. Yeah. And honestly, it was so impactful on me as a man, as a husband, as a father, minister. Like, y'all know this, but I have a nonprofit ministry called Broken Not Dead, and a lot of that, the foundation of that ministry came from that year and a year and 14 days, spent loving on him. Yeah,
and that's powerful.
So yeah,
I love to see that. I love to see the father-son connection. I love to see that bond, because like I said, I'm going through that myself with my two sons, and like the key is to build that relationship, man. Like I want them to trust me and to know that I love them no matter what, no matter what life throws at them. Like, look, I got you. Right. I may have you in a way that you wasn't expecting. Right. But I got you. Yeah. But that's good stuff, man. So what's the most common response that you normally get when you share your story? Like what response do people most give you from your story, man?
I think a lot of people, I think if I had to put one word, I think, well, maybe not one, but a few, encouraged. I think a lot of people, come out and say, I feel encouraged. Like, thank you for sharing. I recently got a letter in the mail. It was an anonymous. They told me it was from Colorado. I had spoken there a few months ago, and somebody, took the time to write me a letter and said, I know you shared your story and it was amazing. And, I get to do that. And they were, it just really touched me, but you sang a song at the end. And what it was is called You Are Not Alone. And I sing that a lot because I wrote it about my mom. So they've met my hero we have a video of us meeting, like I said. And then at the end, I share that song. And there's just that lyric in there that, basically the Father's holding you. You're not alone. And somebody said, I was in that room and it could have been the end. Like that's kind of where I was. They were really honest with me in that letter, said like I was really struggling, and you stopped in the middle of that song, and she I don't know if it was a she or he, but they were like, you may not do this every time, but you said somebody in here tonight needs to hear these words. And they just told me like, I just had to write you and tell you that I've been carrying that, these lyrics of your song, and that's what's keeping me going.
Lord God.
So that's like one of the most recent ones that I just was fresh, man. But if I could tell, I could sit here all night long. Yeah. At my book table, I usually have an opportunity to sell books and sign books and stuff, and it's just I'm there 2 hours. So I'll gladly I'll be there 4 hours if they wouldn't close, shut the building down. Wow. But just the ministry that happens, and it never ceases to amaze me, man. It could be, like I was adopted, or I'm struggling, like my family struggles with mental health, or it's just what,
Yeah.
Your story is so
we've
relatable.
lost babies, we've
Yeah.
had miscarriages, and there's just, so it's just being faithful, to continue to share.
Yeah.
Like I can't not share. Like that's God's like, you're going to share,
Mm.
if I'm not sharing, I'm not in my purpose.
Right. Come on. Hey, that's
So
you say that one more time. You're not what?
if I'm not sharing, I'm not in my purpose,
Wow.
That's good.
And I've also realized for me, and this is something that's powerful, I think, for myself is, but not everybody needs to go there yet. So I just want to make sure I say that before I make this statement. But I have to touch my pain for other people to find healing.
Mm.
But you can't touch that pain if you hadn't found the healing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't got to be 100% put together, but you have to be in a place to where it's not making it unhealthy and adding more trauma and hurt.
Yeah.
I'm at a place, where I can share that.
Yeah.
And I cry I'm surprised I hadn't cried tonight, but I cry every time I share.
Yeah.
So I touch pain and it's hurtful at times, but I know somebody's going to find healing and it's worth it, to share. So
That's good.
Wow.
That's good.
Yep.
So in your world, sharing is a part of it is your purpose.
Yeah.
Because if you're not sharing what your journey and what God has done for you and your story, then you're not making nobody else's life better.
Absolutely. If I were to sum it up, I'd go back to the word, like the word. Revelations 12:11 says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, which I believe to be Jesus, but also the power or the word of our testimonies.
Yes, sir.
So I overcome, by sharing my story, but also other people they find a way to overcome, but also I believe by us sharing our story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To say, hey, I'm not alone. I hear you, brother. Like that was for me. That word was for me,
Yeah.
Awesome.
You welcome to talk freely too, man.
Okay.
Yeah, you welcome to talk freely.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
You can go as deep as you want to go.
Yeah.
It's whatever you comfortable with.
Yes, sir, man. Hey.
So share a moment from your speeches that strengthen your purpose.
Okay.
So do that for us. A standout moment from your speeches that strengthen your purpose.
I think I could do a couple of examples. One being in the pro-life world, with what I speak on there. I had a ladies, a small group from a church come. It was like 10 ladies sitting around a table, and they came that night, which they were okay with. They weren't for abortion at all, except for rape and incest. Okay. Well, my story, my mom was raped, right? By 5 men, actually. So they came, again, thinking that, okay, their belief was it's okay in those circumstances. But after I shared my story, they waited till the room emptied out and they circled around me. And I thought, man, I'm gonna get beat up by these. I'm like, I'm married man, y'all, which I don't have my ring on tonight, but I love you, babe. But I was circled up by these women and they just started weeping. And they finally got the words out that, we came here thinking this way, but now we've heard your story. We've met you.
Awesome.
And we changed our minds. Yeah. Like all 10 of them.
So before you go on,
I
think that in that situation, we limit God.
Yeah.
We limit and think that God cannot work with any seed, any child that is born. It doesn't, like if God allowed this child to be birthed, that's a miracle from God himself.
Right.
So there's a purpose for every child. Right. There you go. So I think we limit God in certain areas. And at that moment, they realize like God is all knowing, all powerful.
Yeah.
All with he can do whatever he wants to do. So anything that's created is created with a purpose.
Right. So that was a big one just in the pro-life world, like giving me purpose. So like, man, I have to continue to be a voice to challenge people's perspective.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with my stand, whether you agree or not,
right.
Like we're divided, I know in that area, but and I want to respect and love everybody and respect their position. But for me, with what I do in the areas I get to speak, that was powerful. That, wait a minute, my words have the power, my story has the power to literally, turn people, influence. And then the other one I would say, it's a negative that turned into a positive. I was sharing at a church in Tupelo, Mississippi, and on a Sunday morning, I got to minister through worship and sharing my testimony. And it was more of a broken, not dead message, right? So we had our T-shirts, we had our bracelets, we had our hats. This young man, he bought everything we had, and he was talking about like how, he just, this just spoke to me, and I get it. Like, I'm broken, I'm not dead. Well, I get a call on Tuesday morning that same man shot himself on Monday. Yeah. And that was, so I spoke on Sunday. Monday, he shot himself. And the reason he shot himself was because his wife, who they were trying to work their marriage out, which he spoke about on Sunday, like, I'm believing for God to do this miracle to restore my marriage. She served in divorce papers, and they did it at work. So he was embarrassed and he was hurt. He went over to the home and he shot himself in front of his 6-year-old daughter and wife. And man, you talk about like being frustrated and I was mad, man. I was asking God, like, again, that's a big why. Like, Lord, is it even worth it? Like, is it even worth it? Yeah. Like, should I keep doing this? Like, I was mad. I almost quit.
That's
like,
understandable.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're changing lives, and next thing I know, God just spoke to kill him.
Yeah. That we spent some intimate time with too. Prayed over him, and but it just shows how valuable, like how precious life is, and how all of the true source of his happiness and hope was in that marriage and the relationship, not really in Christ, So a week goes by. They actually asked me to come down and lead worship at his funeral. So it was an open casket funeral. Wow. And I'm singing Graves in the Gardens. I don't know if y'all know that song, but it's this man's dead in the casket. I'm singing Graves in the Gardens, and it's just, I'm sitting there like, man, this is weird. Service was over, and his wife came up to me, and he had created a playlist of my songs the day he killed himself, and she had been listening to them all week. Wow. And she got saved at that funeral, bro.
Oh man.
And I don't think God, took one to save one.
Right. But God can use any situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I would, again, I didn't want to be there. I was, but God, I was faithful and obedient enough to show up. Yeah. And I've just seen that so much in my life, even when we don't want to go. Yeah. If God says go, be faithful. Yeah. Show up. Even in our weakness, he's going to work.
Come on.
So it's just that was a powerful moment. Again, a negative turned positive in a moment where I wanted to quit, and be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And God's like, no, no, you ain't done. I'm using you. So,
that's the crazy thing too. We wonder why we encounter some situations, but when God sees the platform that he's opening for you,
right,
everything that you encounter is needed.
Right.
It's needed. It may not make sense in the moment, but as you go down through the road, it's going to show up, and you're going to be like, oh, that's why.
Yeah. Right.
That's why.
Yep.
It's equipping you, man. It's putting a whole buffet inside of you.
And again, I'm not trying to make this about broken, not dead, but I realize that brokenness, man, it's not the end of the story.
Yeah.
And you harness that. Like, I think there's a statistic out there that if you ask people about what's the most influential things that's happened in their life, the top 3, 2 of them will be negative. And usually one will be positive, but it's those hardships.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, man, you go through some stuff, and it's about how you view that and how you attack it. Are you going to let it defeat me? Or are you going to allow it to strengthen me? I think, Dwayne, you got a way you say it. I can't remember, you say it better.
Yeah.
But, or one of y'all has a way you say it, but but it's not over. Broken can be fixed. Broken can be restored. Yeah. Dead's dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it said the moment doesn't have to define you, but it can help find you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's good.
So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So in this story, and I mean to the level of success that you encountered so far in the most humblest way, have you ever encountered someone that tried to detour you or distract you or say that it ain't gonna work, it's not gonna work, you don't know what you're doing, I don't believe in you, I don't, to try to discourage what it is that God has placed in you?
100%.
And how did you handle
down to family?
Yeah.
I mean, I love my family, but they just don't get it sometimes. Yeah. I mean, some families still don't get it. Like, why? Man, you got a degree in, such and such, and you're I'm a sole proprietor. Like, I make my money going speaking and doing music and traveling and doing that. I'm away from my family 6 months out of the year, and some families like, man, why aren't you working a 9 to 5? Or, what I'm saying? Like, you could do something different, or just a normal job. But I have to be faithful to what God's called me to do, and, so that definitely early on, 2013 really is kind of when I stepped away from the church world and helping care for my dad. I was working a temp job for like resets for Walmart, making nothing, living with my parents, and then again, you've been walking with me a while, but I mean, we lived off $11,000 one year with a family of 5, but God still provided. I mean, now we live with family, and I mean, we had to do some things. Yeah. We sold all our vehicles. I mean, we weren't living the normal American life, but and it's not about material things, but I'm making more money than I ever have. We just bought a house. I mean, God, and I'm not saying that prosperity type stuff. I'm just saying, like, being faithful and obedient. I do believe God will provide, being faithful, and he will take care of his people. I'm not saying it's a millionaire. Maybe that could be, I don't know, but just, God takes care of his people, and being faithful and obedient. But again, talk about, I do want to remain humble, but I am proud of the fact that I was the #1 pro-life speaker in the country last year. I'm thankful for that. I'm being awarded a life award, and I'm going to the Ritz-Carlton at Marina Del Rey in LA in October. Like, Lord, I'm just, and I'm just being faithful and obedient to share my story, and it's crazy to me. People ask me, like, man, what are you doing? What's the secret? Just be faithful and obedient, be humble, be kind.
That's a good thing, man.
But I've had a lot of people, just a lot of people, man. I mean, there's been 20, 30 times, Dwayne, I've wanted to quit, just because those voices were so loud.
What caused it to get easier?
I don't know if it's gotten easier. You know what I'm saying? I think, I mean, though some of those voices are still there, I guess what's allowed it to be easier is, I don't put a lot of stock into that, because I've seen God be faithful, be faithful, and be faithful. There's those moments where I almost quit, and then there's something happening. I got you. So
that's good.
You have to have those faith increasers on the journey. Because nobody wants to do anything and not see some type of success, some type of progress, along the journey, along the process. So God has infinite wisdom. He knows exactly, how much we can do, how far we can go without him dropping those blessings, without him sending some encouragement, without him just dropping in a new dose of hope. God knows what he's doing. So, and he knows our heart. That's the thing. Like, he knows while we're doing things, and our mindset behind why we're doing, our motives. He knows all that. So I know that God sits back and is like, okay, I'm gonna continue to, bless this guy, not just because of him, but because of the lives I've called him to touch.
Right.
So he'll keep you on that platform as long as, like you said, you're staying humble and you giving him the glory. Right. And that's all you really can do.
Right.
So let me ask you this too. This is just a random question.
Yeah.
But you do it so well on still balancing family and what you do. To someone else that may be thinking to go in that direction, or maybe in that direction, but maybe struggle in those areas, what would be your advice to them? Because I tell you, I see your oldest daughter, and I'm telling you, I can tell that y'all twins. She has that wonderful heart, that she's still like driven, school, just, amazing, very respectful, and when your presence is not there, it still speaks volumes through her. So how do you balance it as much as you be on
make a brother cry, man?
Talking about his everything.
Oh yeah,
yes, man, I'm telling you.
I'm very proud of him. Well, first of all, I don't do it as well as I should. I'm just gonna be honest. I think that's the biggest challenge with what I do. And I tell people from stage, man, every time I speak, before I start getting into the talk, I'm like, I just want to honor my wife. I want to honor my kids, because even though they're not in the room, this is our ministry. They're here with me, because Honestly, I think those conversations with your spouse need to happen if you're married.
Yeah.
Rachel's supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's hard. I mean, but we have a shared calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I get a speaking engagement, like I get an invitation to come
Mm-hmm.
speak, well, I don't say yes to it till I've shared.
Yeah.
I've asked permission from my wife to be able to go do that.
Yeah.
Now obviously I've got to say yes to enough because we got to eat. You know what I'm saying? That's how I get paid, make my money. But if there's something that's going on with family, like for example, my kids were at Shoals Christian, were in a play, and they had 3 nights. And it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, I had, an organization want me to come speak on Saturday or Friday evening. And I initially said no, but they were like, all right, we're going to fly you out there day of. We don't care if you come, because I usually go the day before and spend time and do life with the organization. And then we'll get you on a red eye out of LAX on, that night so you can get back for sure.
Wow.
Of course, my flight got canceled and delayed. I made it.
Okay.
Went straight from the airport to there. But
wow.
Again, my wife and I would have still said no.
Yeah.
But they were like, we'll pay you double. And that was the magic word for my wife. She was like,
she was on board.
She was like, okay, well, let's see if we can wait. But I'm just saying we talk it out.
Yeah.
And we have to be in agreement.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. But too, it's hard though.
Yeah.
I don't like being away from my family 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to a place to where I can, again, we've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
I've had to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Because that's my income came from that.
Yeah.
And used to, they were able to travel with me.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm flying everywhere now, I'd make no money. We wouldn't have income if you're flying a family of 5 and that's more food. That's a bigger rental car.
Mm-hmm.
But I am at a position now to where I get to take, like I took my wife to Waco, Texas. We did the Magnolia stuff, the Chip and Joanna Gaines thing. My daughter went to Florida for 5 days. Isabella, my oldest, you were talking about, she's going to California with me in September. So I'm at a place now where I can start taking them on some trips.
Good.
Awesome. So that's cool.
And I'm sure they proud of you too.
They are. But let's be honest, man, with our kids, they're like, all right, Dad.
Yeah.
I travel so much now, man. It's just like, where you at, Dad?
Yeah.
But they are, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're proud of me.
I think with kids, depending on the age, because I like with my sons, it's like they'll notice that I'm doing something, and then for that moment, it's like, yeah, Dad, woohoo! Right. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, forgot. Well, so to them, it's like, no, you're just Dad. That's normal to us. Yeah, that's what you do. So it's like
KK, my 11-year-old, like she'll get me crying, man. She literally, like, sometimes she'll chase me, down the street, like until my car disappears. That she's still there, and they'll look on Life 360, and she's singing. She knows I'm coming home that day, so she'll run out and before I get my door open and tackle me. The other two, they got cell phones. Right. I'm saying they're 16, 14. They love me. They'll get up and hug me and kiss me on the cheek. But but it's all right, Dad.
Yeah. But see, that's why it's so important to create that bond while they're young. So, as you continue to grow, and because the dynamics of the relationship change. Right. And as they get older, it's like they get more entertained. They want to do stuff with their friends. But deep down, they know that Daddy's got me. Daddy loves me. Daddy's been here.
We just had Father's Day, right? Yeah. And I get these cards and I'm just weeping, because they're written. Yeah. They don't actually verbally say it, or I see it. Especially Eliana, my 14-year-old, she's probably the one that, we butt heads more than anything, just that father-daughter relationship. She told me the other day I have to have consent to hug her, what I'm saying? Like, girl, I help make you, what I'm saying? I can hug you. Right. But I get what she's saying. She's wired a little different than, all 3 of them are wired differently. So you interact and, you build those relationships can look different, based on personalities and that type of thing. So, but
what type of, this is totally off subject. Yeah. What type of music do you enjoy singing outside of, worshiping? Like, what other genre would you say you tap into?
To be honest, I listen to a lot of worship, and that's just like, worship just takes me there. You know what I'm saying? So I love. But, back in the day, like I still go back, I'm going to throw on some 90s hits sometimes, R&B, like, of course, like Stevie, Boys to Men, because in middle school, man, I'm chasing them ladies,
Oh, yeah.
So it was like Boys to Men, All for One. I swear, what I'm saying? But anyways, I also grew up on country, and like Vince Gill was an artist that I listened to a lot because I'm a tenor.
Okay.
So like I've gotten a little lower, but I was really high, singing as a kid. So just navigating that. But I listen to country. I still listen to, some rock, but really, if I'm going to really let loose, it's going to be that 90s, 90s vibe. Then I'm sitting there listening to this like, man, I never let my kids listen to these songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I listen to this stuff, girl.
Man, the 90s is better than what they play these days, though.
Yeah, well, I know.
Like,
I don't listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm too old.
Nothing. They don't hide nothing in their music these days. Everything is thrown right in their face, and it's like accepted.
Right. Now, if I was working in student ministry still, I'd make myself, because I think it's important for any ministers out there working with youth.
You got to know what's
like, you got to know.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I minister those spaces, but I don't minister those kids on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just not in the know as much as I used to be.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I used to on Tuesday nights here when I was coming more often, I would, some nights I would bring in lyrics from the most popular songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, who knows? Like one song was popular, like about 2 years ago, was Right Foot Creep. They was doing the gritty off of it, their popular dance, and everybody's singing it. So I bring them. I said, okay, let's read these lyrics. Do y'all even know what this song about? No. So we break the lyrics down, and it's a guy talking about how he's going to creep up on somebody and take his life, and send him, HEWLs, they say. So it's like,
right,
what are our kids really listening to? Right. They don't care. It's like a beat. It's a 5 beat. It's a dance to it. We're gonna listen to it. And the next thing you know, you see this generation that is like so influenced, because hip hop influences you, whether you like it or not. But anyway, that's a whole other.
And I love hip hop. I'm eclectic, man. I like all kinds.
I'm the same way.
Stuff.
I can listen to anything except like rock and roll, like hardcore rock and roll, or heavy metal. It's heavy.
Yeah,
metal.
I was gonna say I don't like death metal where I can't. Yeah. I'm a lyric guy. Definitely.
That's what I was going to say. I love lyrics.
And I don't like gangster rap either, to where again it's like killing people, pimping, hoe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like and again that's just probably, but I think too. Again, I think it's funny how as a dad, I listen to music completely different, having a 16, 14, and 11-year-old and daughters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I'm convicted myself by some of the stuff, that I might be, I was like, man, I can't listen to this stuff anymore, because so I wouldn't want my kids doing it. So on double standard,
Is there anything else you want to share that people may not know about you, or are we good to go?
Yeah. Or what's next for Steventhen Holland?
Yeah, let's do that. What's next for Steventhen Holland?
Yeah. Man, I'm just, again, I'm really talking about family, just really trying to be intentional about, it's really a beautiful place, I guess I'm in, that I can run hard for about 6 months. That's kind of the fundraising world. Really, March, April, May, and then September, October, November. Then the rest of the year, I can be more strategic and kind of say no to some things. So I really tried to say no to a lot this summer, only doing some local things, with passion projects, that I have a heart for. And then I'm really spending time with family. We're doing a legit vacation, in July that we normally it's like, oh, I got a ministry event. Y'all come with me. But this one's, just family. And, but then September, man, we're hitting the ground running. I've got, I think, right at 30 national speaking engagements, and that's going to all happen between September, October, and November.
Wow.
Go up to the week before Thanksgiving. So I'll be running hard.
Yeah, you will be. You will be.
A lot of flights and hotels and rental cars.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the journey, man. And everybody is different, because some people can take that and do that, and they can deal with, like you said, the missing a family. Then in some families, it's like, no, I can't chance that right now.
Right.
The dynamics are different. The relationships are different. The situation is different. So, as long as you're doing what God has caused you to do,
right,
then let's keep doing it.
And my family's supportive.
Yes,
yes,
sir. Yes, sir. They back you 100%. You want to close it out, Dwayne?
Yes, sir. That's our episode, folks. We thank you so much for tuning in. The Elevated Chat Room. Special guest, Mr. Steventhen Holland. We thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, sir.
And this is the episode. Elevate your mind.
Elevate your life.
Let's go.
We out.